The Pitt Season 3 is not giving these characters a year to heal. It is only giving them 4 months. And for a hospital full of people already running on trauma, guilt, and exhaustion, that might be the most interesting decision the show could have made. Because when this series returns, the cold weather may be new, but the damage is not. Hey, what's up everyone? Come back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The Pitt Season 3 is set to arrive in January 2027, but inside the story, we are not making some massive leap forward. We are only moving a few months past the Season 2 finale, and that changes everything. This is not a clean reset. This is not a brand new era. This is a winter shift filled with people who still have unfinished business, and that is exactly why the returning cast matters so much. The biggest name, obviously, is Robby. There was never really a version of this show where he stayed gone for long. Even with everything Season 2 did to him, the emotional collapse, the warning signs, the sense that he was barely holding himself together, The Pitt without Robby would feel like an entirely different series. But the important detail here is that he is not coming back magically healed. That matters. If anything, Season 3 sounds like it is picking up with Robby still trying to outrun whatever broke inside him. He is not returning as some renewed version of himself with all the answers. He is coming back after time away, and that probably means his first episodes are going to carry even more tension, because now everybody around him will be watching to see whether he is really okay or just functioning well enough to pass. And no, the show is not turning him into baby Jane Doe's new parent either. So if anyone expected a softer, domestic twist for Robby, that does not seem to be where this is heading. Then you have Dana. And honestly, this one feels essential. The Pitt works because the ER feels like a living, breathing machine. And Dana is one of the people keeping that machine from flying apart. She brings control, presence, and emotional force every time she is on screen. So having her back means Season 3 still has one of its strongest anchors. But the thing with Dana is that she never feels fully solved as a character. Even when she looks like the most stable person in the room, there is usually more going on underneath. So bringing her back is not just about familiarity. It is about keeping one of the show's most layered people in play. Now, one of the most interesting returns has to be Al-Hashimi. Because the last time we saw her, things were rough. Really rough. Her future at the hospital felt uncertain, and emotionally, she looked like someone realizing that the life she knew might be changing in ways she could not control. So the fact that Season 3 is continuing her story is huge. It tells us the show is not running away from that struggle. It is leaning into it. And that could give us one of the best arcs of the season. Not just whether she can work, but what support looks like, what trust looks like, and what happens if the hospital has to rethink how someone like her fits into that environment. There is a lot of drama sitting there. And if the show handles it right, her storyline could become one of the emotional centers of the season. Another major shift is Parker Ellis, moving more firmly into the day shift. That is a smart move. Every time Ellis shows up, she brings a different kind of energy. Calm, confident, sharp. The kind of person who can walk into chaos and somehow make it look manageable. Putting her into the main daytime flow gives the show a chance to build out her role in a much bigger way. And honestly, it also changes the chemistry of the ER, because that kind of personality, standing next to Robby, Dana, and everyone else, creates a whole new balance. Then there is Javadi, who may have one of the more exciting directions going into Season 3. For a while, it felt like she might be drifting away from this world entire. But now, it looks like the show has found a path that keeps her connected to the emergency department while also giving her a more specific focus. That is a really smart choice, because it allows the character to evolve without disappearing from the core of the series. And it also opens the door for the show to explore a side of emergency care that fits perfectly with its tone. Langdon is another return that matters a lot, because his story has never been about one dramatic comeback. It is about whether he can actually hold himself together over time. 4 months gives the show a chance to reveal progress without pretending the fight is over. Maybe he is steadier now. Maybe some of that confidence has returned. Maybe he is finally starting to feel like himself again. But with Langdon, the tension is always going to be there. Because recovery is never as simple as one good day at work. And that also connects directly to Santos. She is coming back too, and that is important because season 2 started softening her just enough to make her even more compelling. She still has that hard edge. She still carries herself like someone who would rather push people away than need them. But we also started seeing cracks in that armor. A little warmth, a little connection, a little possibility. Season 3 could take that even further, especially since there are still unresolved dynamics around her that the show clearly is not done with. McKay also feels like someone who could quietly rise in a big way next season. She has consistently felt like one of the most reliable people in the room. Competent, mature, unshaken when it counts. And if there is any character who feels ready to step into even more responsibility, it is her. So I would not be surprised at all if season 3 starts positioning her at a higher level inside the ER. Mel is another character to watch closely. Her personal life has been shifting, and professionally, there are still questions hanging over her. That means season 3 has room to explore both who she is at work and who she is when work stops being enough to define her. That is where some of the most human storytelling on this show usually happens. Whitaker feels like someone who is slowly growing into himself. Not all at once, not in some giant dramatic leap, but piece by piece. And with a few months passing, there is a real opportunity to show that growth more clearly now. More confidence, better instincts, maybe even a little more control over the emotional messiness that keeps following him around. And then there is Emma Nolan. Honestly, I am really glad she is coming back, because season 2 put her through a lot. And the easy version of that story would have been to let the trauma define her and push her out. Instead, the show seems ready to let her keep going. That matters. Emma represents something. The Pitt does very well, showing how resilience does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like someone deciding not to walk away. If season 3 builds on that, then she could become one of the most quietly powerful parts of the ER. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, that is what makes the Pitt season 3 so interesting. It is not returning with a full reinvention. It is coming back with a group of people who are still in motion, still damaged, still learning, still carrying the consequences of everything that happened before. And because the story jump is only 4 months, none of that pain has had time to disappear. Which means the cold weather outside the hospital may be new, but inside that ER, the pressure is only getting hotter. But anyway, that is the returning cast setup for the Pitt season 3, and why this next chapter could be one of the show's most emotionally loaded yet. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which returning character you are most excited to see back in the ER. I will catch you in the next one.